Okay, so back with number 2, the second installment of this mini series, if you want to call it that. If you haven't seen part 1, please watch it. I'm just going to say find it on my page. You'll see it, Preparing a Session part 1. I'm going to try to see if I can upload a link on the video. I'm not really that YouTube savvy, so we'll see. If it's up there, that means I figured it out. It means I'm a genius. If I didn't, then I'm not a genius. So anyways, so in the other video, we were looking at cleaning things up, organizing the files, sliding things around. As you can see, in this session here, I still haven't really finished it. The point was just to show you what I do and where I was going with it. And this part's going to be pretty much the same thing. It's not going to be, 100% start to finish. Everything is done. I'm just going to give you the little tips of what I do and show you, and then hopefully you can take it and input that into your sessions. So now we're going to move on to the console. So what I like to do is I like to, first of all, rename everything. So I need to go back into this, because whenever you get files, everything's named. Well, the good thing is that Amir, the producer of the song, he put all the drums into this folder, so that makes it a lot easier for me. So I know that everything in this folder is a drum, and then everything in here is part of the instrumentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to rename things. So this is a kick, and let's listen to it. Let's turn that up. Okay, so, and I think this one's more of a bottom kick, so let's hear. So I'm gonna name this kick high and kick low. Done. Easy peasy. And then this is a snare clap. I'm just gonna call it a clap just for simplicity's sake. There's no sense in having a snare clap. Doesn't make sense, right? We got brush. Actually, you know what? This brush kind of sounds like a snare. I'm gonna name it a snare, and I'm probably gonna treat it like a snare too. A hi-hat. That's fine. Open hat. I'm happy with that. Gong stick. Yeah, that's cool. Synthetic clap. So I think I'm just gonna end up renaming this clap. So listen. Oops. I'll just name this clap too. What's next? Snare. So that is a snare. So I'm gonna rename. Oh, oops. Never mind. I already did that. All right. This crash affected. Let's listen. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna name this crash effects. What's this? What does it say here? Strom. Well, I have no idea what the hell a battery computer one strom is, so I'm gonna name this I don't know, it reminds me of like a teardrop or something, so I'll name it that. Or like a laser, you know what? Let's call it a laser. There we go. That's better. Call it a laser. What's this explosion thing here? Oh wait, what's this? Let's go over here. Oops. Okay, that's fine. Explosion. I'll go with that. Alright, you know what? This is gonna take me forever. So let me finish up all this stuff. And then the only reason why I'm going to name everything in this is because when I get into the console and I show you the grouping and all that and the color coding and yada yada yada, it's a lot easier for me when I can see all the names. Okay, back. And took me a little while there, but thankfully with the modern day age of editing, we can cut it out pretty quick. So anyways, one thing I forgot to show, I can't remember if I showed it in the last video or not, and between saving this session. I just can't remember. So if I showed this in the last video, just ignore this. But all these files here with like the do not disturb sign on it or whatever that is, basically that just means that it's muted. It's not being used, so get rid of it. Well, I'm gonna get rid of it. I think it was planned to be used at one point, but obviously when I got the session, it wasn't meant to be there. So if it's not meant to be there, I don't want to see it. Thank you very much. All right. So one thing I did was in the vocals. First of all, you might notice I added all the vocals together, the choruses, the verses, the harmonies. So I just would have all the vocals in one place. And also there's these extras here which I took out, which you can see is the chorus bass harmony, the chorus high harmony, and the chorus main. And I left these names really long just in case I needed them again. I would know what they were, and I wouldn't have to stop to think about it. But what happened was the reason why I took those out is because in the chorus there's already 3 parts here. There's, you know, basically I guess you could say left channel, right channel, and center. And there was a second one for, I guess, the center, or however you want to say it. So I just decided I don't need it, so I'm just taking it out. Now with the highs and what was the other one? The highs and the bass. I'm going to rename this. It's supposed to be low. But anyways, so there's 2 lows and there's 2 highs, and there was an extra one for the center channel, but 99% of the time when I'm doing harmonies, it's literally just hard left, hard right. There's no 97, 95, 90, whatever. There's no, sometimes it's center channel, but 99% of the time it's always hard left, hard right. And usually what I would do is I would take all the harmonies, in this case starting here, and I would just bounce these down to a 2-track, and then I would take these files here and I would just mute them all, and then I put them into this extra folder. So they're not being used. And actually what you can do in Sonar, you can actually archive. So if you hit the archive, it's not working. Oh, there. Anyways, once the A lights up, it just means that it's archived, and your system resources aren't being used for those particular tracks. So you can do that if you want to save some of your system resources. So now that all that's done, you can see I organized a little bit too. I consolidated all the files, so in each certain section it's a lot easier to see when the parts are going to play. I also did that with the instruments, so now you can see it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to see where they start playing. And the drums, I did the same thing. The only thing I did differently was I just left all these because they're all one-offs, most of them, so it didn't make sense to consolidate if they're already, you know, basically consolidated to where they need to be. So now that we got all the names and I like what the names look like, go back into the console, and then what we can start doing is anything that is considered a drum to me in Sonar, if you just double click this little wave thing here, it brings you up, and then I just normally go to colors. They have pictures too, so you can see like drums. You can put a bass drum if you want. I don't know, whatever. But that's way too time consuming for me. So I would just go for colors and whatever, blue. That's the magic color. So I'm sure there's probably a faster way to do this, and me being the lazy person I am, I don't research it, so I end up taking the long way. Okay, so actually, you know what? I'm gonna color code these ones a different blue. So it's a different hue of blue, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm gonna take these more prominent blue tracks, and I'm going to group them. So what you do is you just click on this little thing that says master. So what it's doing is it's taking all this information from this fader, and if you can imagine just a wire, it's basically just sending it from this all the way down to this master fader over here. Let me bring this more into the screen. So it's taking this signal and it's inputting it to the master fader, which makes sense because all of these files or all of these tracks are going to the master fader. So instead of linking it to the master fader, I'm going to create a new bus. Sorry, hold on here. I'm going to call this drums, and then this goes to the master. So this drum track goes to this drum bus, and then from this drum bus it goes to the master. So I do that with all my drums. And generally, when I put a drum, you know what, I'm going to rename that just so there's no confusion. I'm going to call it kick, snare. I like to keep my kick and snare together because I like to process those together. I don't know why. It's just something I've gotten comfortable with over, you know, a period of time. Sorry, another thing I forgot to mention. Let me go back in here. Sorry, I know I'm going all over the place here. But you notice I took the bass and I added it into this drum folder here. The reason is I like the bass to be at the front of my session. So that goes at the very front, and I actually keep it in my drum folder. I know it technically shouldn't be there, but I know it's there. It's always there. I'm used to it. I'm familiar with it, so that's why it's there. And I like it at the front of the session. So generally it goes bass, my kick drums, my claps and snares. Then I'll go with my hi-hats and any other sounds that could be, you know, that have some relation to the drums or transitions or something, whatever. So again, this will be the last part. So everything that's blue is considered drums, except for the bass. The bass, let's make it yellow. Yeah, that's cool. So now all this stuff in here, this main pad, there's only a few sounds. These are all of my instrumentation. So I'll just label those green. And then all my vocals, well, actually, you know what? If you want to make the leads, you can do, say, what else is there? Let's do teal. So you can do all the leads in teal. And ad-libs will make that part of the lead. Of course. I don't even like this color, to be honest with you, but whatever. And then the harmonies will make it the other teal. That's kind of hard to see. Let's just make it white. That's better. So it just makes it easier to see. And then this is kind of where we stop here. So if you want, let's do another color. Let's do something fun here. Let's try, yeah, let's put one of these. No particular reason. It's almost like when you see a track folder, it's like, you know, get the hell out of the way. Another thing you can do is turn these faders down too, and then that will kind of, if you kind of come down towards the mixer, it'll divert your attention. Okay, so the harmonies, I think that's pretty straightforward. You want, let's name this, I just use harm. I know what it means. So we'll put all the harmonies in the harm. And if you want, you can make this white to match. Call this leads. And the harmonies are going in there too, so that's part of the leads. Make this the teal. Kick and snare, we'll go with blue. And then these other ones, I'm going to put them in another, I guess I can't use a backslash, eh? Oh, yeah, okay. The other ones, I'll put them in a new folder. And we're going to call these, I'm just going to name this drums. So what I'm actually going to do is, I got to route these all to the master fader. So I'm actually going to do is, these blues are all being routed to this kick and snare. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to route these to the drums. So there's all So all the drums are going into this one drum fader. And then I'll label this with this blue. So if this concept of grouping and stuff is kind of new to you, just honestly just watch this over and over and over until you're sick of watching it. Okay, new stereo bus. We're gonna name this, I'll just do short form instruments and green, and that's it. So now essentially what I've created is I've created like a mini mix inside of the larger mix session. Oh, another thing I forgot to point out, remember in the last video how we had like 51 tracks? So look, there's only 35 now. So I was able to consolidate and move things around and slide things around down to 35. So I mean, that's really helpful when you're, again, navigating your session. You can see in all these extras, I want you to open that, but so now when you go along and you move and you can see things easier, it's a little bit more organized, and it's just, so once you actually start mixing, it gives you a clear mind. So now as I'm mixing, I can use these faders to mix as opposed to using all of these faders here. So actually I'll play the song. I don't think I've actually played it yet. I won't play the whole thing. Let me get into over here.
Back when I believed that I was sent to her.
So now, for instance, for whatever reason, if I want to turn the drums down, you know, it's just easy. I can just pull this fader down, or if I want the vocals up. But so that's about it. And yeah, so the next video, I think it'll be a little bit more deeper into the mixing process. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right, see you next video.